All right, it is exactly 2 o'clock, so I will go ahead and get us started. Again, good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us for today's grant solicitation webinar for OJJDP's FY 2019 Gang Suppression Implementation Grants Program. My name is William Moore, and I'm with the Office of Juvenile Justice and Delinquency Prevention's National Training and Technical Assistance Center. As your technical host, I would like to take a couple of minutes to discuss a few features of the Adobe Connect webinar platform and provide a few announcements to keep in mind. Please note that this event is being recorded and will be published on NTTAC's YouTube channel. The webinar recording will be archived on NTTAC's YouTube channel, where you can also view past webinars. For the event transcript and supporting materials, please contact the OJJDP NTTAC Help Desk. For those wishing to download a copy of the PowerPoint slides and other important documents, you may do so by locating the handouts pod directly above the chat area. Here, you will also find an FAQ for webinar participants that will likely address technical related questions. Simply click on the name of the file, then click the download button. During today's webinar, the presenter will address questions during our Q&A segment. Please type in your questions into the chat box as they arise. For those of you participating in today's webinar as a group, please take a minute to help us count. Go to the chat window and type in the total number of additional people in the room with you today. If you're alone, there's no need to type anything at this time. And I'll give folks a couple of seconds to do that. Again, just type in the total number of additional people in the room with you today. If you're viewing alone, there's no need to type anything into the chat pod at this time. Following today's webinar, attendees will be sent a certificate of attendance. This certificate is sent approximately 1 hour following the conclusion of the event and is sent via an Adobe Connect thank you email. Please keep an eye on your email for your certificate. Please note that only participants that are registered and signed in will receive a certificate of attendance. At the conclusion of today's webinar, you will be provided with a link to a brief evaluation about today's presentation. The feedback you provide is used to assist in future planning and training. Again, my name is William Moore, and I'm with OJJDP's NTTAC, and I will be assisting with the technology and moderating a part of our Q&A at the end of today's webinar. I will now turn the webinar over to our presenter, Steffi Rapp, for today's webinar. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. As William said, I am Steffi Rapp, Program Manager at the Office of Juvenile Justice and Delinquency Prevention. The objectives for this webinar are to provide you a general overview of the FY19 Youth Gang Suppression Implementation Grants Program solicitation, to highlight key eligibility and solicitation requirements, and to provide you an opportunity to ask some questions. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about OJJDP's gang strategy. In this FY19 gang solicitation, OJJDP is emphasizing suppression as a part of a larger comprehensive strategy to address gang violence. The OJJDP comprehensive gang model is highlighted in this solicitation in a number of places. In 1987, OJJDP began supporting a project created by Irving Spergel to design a comprehensive strategic approach to reduce and prevent youth gang violence. This project resulted in the development of the Spergel model of gang intervention and suppression, which was later renamed the OJJDP Comprehensive Gang Model. The OJJDP Comprehensive Gang Model involves 5 core strategies for dealing with gang-involved youth and their families. The 5 strategies are community mobilization, which focuses on the involvement of local citizens, including former gang members, community groups and agencies, and the coordination of programs and staff functions within and across agencies. Opportunities provision, which focuses on the development of a variety of specific education, training, and employment programs targeting gang-involved youth. Social intervention, which involves youth-serving agencies, schools, street outreach workers, grassroots groups, faith-based organizations, law enforcement agencies, and other criminal justice organizations reaching out and acting as links between gang-involved youth, their families, and needed services such as mental health services, educational services, or housing services. Suppression, which focuses on formal and informal social control procedures, including close supervision or monitoring of gang youth by agencies of the criminal justice system and also by community-based agencies, schools, and grassroots groups. Suppression is obviously what is highlighted here in the solicitation. And finally, organizational change and development focuses on the development and implementation of policies and procedures that result in the most effective use of available and potential resources to better address your gang problem. It's very important that applicants conduct or have already conducted a comprehensive assessment of their community's gang problem. Here's some gang funding information. This solicitation is going to close on June 24th, 2019. There will be a maximum number of 6 awards. The estimate maximum dollar amount for each award is up to $230,000. So that is $230,000 to cover 3 years. The award project start date is October 1st, 2019. And down here you can see a copy of the solicitation if you need it. The Youth Gang Suppression Implementation Grants Program is designed to prevent or reduce gang violence by implementing suppression strategies outlined in the comprehensive gang model that we just talked about, which creates a community and data-driven response to gang-related crime and violence. OJJDP's expectations for successful applicants are to reduce violent crime, gangs, and youth victimization, while at the same time enhancing public safety in communities through gang suppression efforts for gang-involved or youth at risk of gang involvement. Who can apply for this application? States and territories, units of local government, and this includes law enforcement agencies, federally recognized tribes, nonprofit and for-profit organizations, and colleges and universities. All recipients and subrecipients, including any for-profit organizations, must forego any profit or management fee. So that means that with the grant funding that you receive, you can't profit from it. Eligible applicants need to provide direct services to youth who are between the ages of 0 and 17. Somebody 18, according to OJJDP, is considered an adult. OJJDP welcomes applications where you and the partnering agency want to apply together for this federal award. However, only one entity may be the applicant, and everybody else would become, any other agency that you're working with would become a subrecipient. This program is part of Project Safe Neighborhoods, which is a national initiative that brings together federal, state, local, and tribal law enforcement officials, prosecutors, and community leaders to identify the most pressing violent crime problems in a community and develop comprehensive solutions to address these problems. Applicants are highly encouraged to demonstrate coordination with their U.S. Attorney's Office and their Project Safe Neighborhoods team in their application submission. What is the goal of this particular program? The goal of this solicitation is to support communities in developing a wide variety of suppression strategies that are evidence-based or promising models to help gang-involved youth or youth at risk of gang involvement. And we've listed here some helpful websites that have both promising and evidence-based program models for you to review. Objectives of this program include expanding and enhancing the availability and sharing of gang intelligence information, to design and target effective suppression strategies, to be able to identify and address gaps in service, and to create a comprehensive network of services, a universe in your particular target area for youth at risk of becoming gang involved or that are already gang involved. Another objective is to reduce the impact of violence on youth by improving identification, screening, access, delivery, and quality of services available to youth exposed to gang-related violence, to attempt to prevent them from joining a gang or being victimized by a gang. And the last objective is to reduce and sustain reductions in community youth violence, particularly gun and gang violence and victimization. Deliverables for this application, OJJDP would like applicants to provide local, regional, and state data that highlights the prevalence of youth violence and the presence of gangs in the targeted communities that you are going to be writing about in your application. Please describe how funds will be used to develop, expand, or enhance suppression programs and strategies, again, as a part of that bigger comprehensive approach to identify and serve youth at risk of becoming gang involved or who are already gang involved. You can look at the National Gang Center's website to review evidence-based programs that are specific for gang-involved youth. We also would like you to provide a detailed explanation of how the suppression strategies are a part of your bigger coordinated approach to address youth gang violence. So OJJDP would like to see that you have a prevention and intervention component to your overall comprehensive strategy. Please include a copy of any existing formal strategic plan that you already have to address youth gang violence in this as an attachment in this application and label it strategic plan. Another deliverable for this application is that OJJDP would like for you to convene a task force or working group. It may be an existing working group or one that you are going to put together for this particular program. It would be a group of stakeholders that meet regularly throughout the project period to identify and address service gaps and barriers, and to also create that universe of comprehensive services for at-risk and gang-involved youth. Please include in your application a list of the members of this working group, the date it was created, and the history of the work that group's already done to address youth gang violence. If you don't already have that task force or working group set up, you can talk about how it's going to be set up for this program, who you would include. You can list the people that you would include, and you can list the date that you will start working together and what kind of work you will do to address the youth gang violence problem in your target area. Public awareness activities may be included in your application, but cannot exceed 10% of your budget, of your total budget. We'll now talk about the OJJDP grant application process. Okay, these are all the things that should be included in your application. For those of you that have applied for federal awards before, this probably looks very familiar. I'd like to call your attention to the additional attachments over here. This section includes some key application requirements that will be rated as part of the overall selection criteria, such as your timeline, logic model, and job descriptions. So please make sure that you review those closely. Your project abstract should summarize your program in 400 words or less and be submitted as a separate attachment, and name it, please call it project abstract. It's not part of your 30-page program narrative. Your program narrative should have a 30-page limit, and it should include a statement of the problem, your goals and objectives, and performance measures, which we'll talk about in a minute, project design and implementation, and your capabilities and competencies as an agency. So in your statement of the problem, you want to describe the nature and scope of your community's gang violence problem and how this program that you're creating will address it. You should use data to provide evidence that you do have, your community does have a gang problem. You want to demonstrate the size and scope of the problem and document the effects that this problem's had on your target population and the community at large. Please also describe your target population and any previous attempts you've taken to address this problem in your community. So please also, in the program narrative section, describe your particular goals for the program that you are proposing and identify your own objectives. In the solicitation, we've listed performance measures. So the performance measures are the same for all applicants, and you're not required to submit performance measurement data with this application. The performance measurements that are in the grid that you see in the solicitation are there to inform you of what data you will be collecting as a part of your reporting requirements for OJJDP. Applicants should indicate that you understand these requirements and discuss in your application how you will gather the data if you receive funding. So if you're working with, 4 community programs that are serving at-risk youth, and you're working with schools that have kids that are in gangs and they're a part of it, or school resource officers, you want to explain in your application the system that you have developed to have each of those different entities that are contributing to your comprehensive approach, how you're collecting data from them for the performance measures that you will be reporting on. Project design and implementation gives applicants time to detail how your project will operate throughout the funding period and describe the strategies that applicants have chosen to use to achieve the goals and objectives that have been identified in the application. Also, please describe how you will complete your deliverables. Capabilities and competencies. Please describe your experience as an agency or an organization, and the experience and capability of your contractors or subgrantees, your partners that are going to be working with you on this, that you want to show that you can manage and implement an effort of this magnitude. And you may list other projects that you've implemented of similar design or magnitude. Also, please describe how you've met the qualification outlined under the priority considerations and the project-specific information for this particular solicitation. Okay, letters of support and memorandums of understanding. If you are going to be applying with another agency as a partner, you 100% need to submit a memorandum of understanding and a letter of support. The letter of support should express for the program a statement of willingness to participate and collaborate with the head agency that's putting together this approach, this comprehensive approach with a suppression focus. And you can see that these are the other things that need to be included, what the percentage of time that your partnering agency will devote to the planning and operation of the project. If you are not partnering with another agency to run this program, you still can gather letters of support and address them to the OJJDP administrator, Karen Harp, and these letters of support need to be submitted with your application by June 24th, the due date. Okay, budget detail worksheet and the budget narrative. The budget narrative needs to clearly describe every category of expense listed in the budget detail worksheet. The Office of Justice program expects the budget to be complete, cost-effective, and allowable. And we've listed here a resource guide for you to review. In your budget, you're going to want to put funds towards a 3-day cross-site meeting in each year of the project. So you're going to be budgeting for 3 cross-site meetings, and you can budget for up to 3 representatives from your agency to travel to attend these meetings. We understand we don't know what states these meetings are going to be held in, so you don't know the exact amount of, your plane ticket, but just estimate and budget for 3 cross-site meetings. Okay, other items that an application should include: information on your proposed subawardees, your procurement contracts, your indirect cost rate, tribal authorizing resolution, if that's applicable, your disclosure of high-risk status. If you have another federal grant that you know is designated high risk, you need to put that in your application. And you need to also upload your financial management and system of internal controls questionnaire. Your additional attachments include a logic model, timeline, resume of key personnel and job descriptions, and also information regarding communication with the Department of Homeland Security and/or Immigration Customs Enforcement. For this, each applicant has to provide responses to the following questions as an attachment to the application. I'll let you review the questions for a second. Okay. Now, in addition to these questions, there are 2 certifications related to adhering to federal immigration laws. If you are awarded, if you receive an award from this solicitation, this would become a special condition to this award. And that is, you have to have these 2 certifications signed and submitted within 45 days of receiving the award. These certifications are not a part of the basic minimum requirements for this award, but they are needed in order to accept the award. And this is something new, quality opportunity zones. OJJDP will be giving priority consideration to applications that propose projects that will likely enhance public safety in these qualified opportunity zones. So please, explain where the location of your target area is for this program and connect it if it is a part of a qualified opportunity zone. I've looked up the qualified opportunity zones in this website, and there are a lot of them in every state. Okay, the National Gang Center is the Office of Juvenile Justice and Delinquency Prevention's national training and technical assistance provider, and they will be addressing your local training and technical assistance needs. The National Gang Center is a project that's jointly funded by the Office of Juvenile Justice and Delinquency Prevention and the Bureau of Justice Assistance in DOJ. The National Gang Center is an integral component of the Justice Department's mission to provide innovative leadership in coordination with federal, state, local, and tribal justice systems to prevent and reduce crime. Whether you have a grant with OJJDP or BJA or not, you can still receive technical assistance from the National Gang Center if you are having, if you need local assistance with combating a gang problem. The National Gang Center's website is listed here and on some other slides. If you haven't already visited the National Gang Center's website, it's extremely helpful. Okay, here's the selection criteria for this particular solicitation, and the percentage shows you how much, when the application is being peer reviewed, the weight and the importance of each area of the application, how it's going to be reviewed. The OJJDP application review process includes peer reviewers. What we first do is make sure that the application that's submitted meets basic minimum requirements, and then OJJDP may use internal peer reviewers or external peer reviewers or a combination of both to review applications. This application must be submitted through grants.gov, and at OJJDP, we urge you to submit your application at least 72 hours prior to the due date, and I would even say more than 72 hours because there have been times where there have been technological problems with grants.gov and applicants haven't been able to apply. Late applications that are not won't be accepted unless there's a problem with grants.gov or with OJJDP. So hopefully you'll be able to get your application submitted way in advance. Also, in order to register with grants.gov, you need to have a DUNS number, and on this PowerPoint, I've listed the phone number and the website in order to get a DUNS number, how to apply. If you experience technical difficulties during your application process, please call grants.gov. Here's their telephone number. And finally, here are some helpful resources for you. The DOJ Financial Guide gives you a plethora of knowledge on what are allowable costs to have a DOJ grant. The National Gang Center, as we've mentioned a few times, is an excellent resource. They recently came out with this great publication on gangs in schools. And these websites here can give you will give you a variety of programs, both promising and evidence-based, that may be able to fill a gap that you have when designing your comprehensive approach. Okay, I'm happy to answer any questions that anybody has.
All right, great. Thank you, Steffi. Well, we do have a couple of questions that we do want to go over before we go into our questions from the audience. The first question is, will OJJDP offer this solicitation in fiscal year 2020?
It's too soon to know what the FY20 spending plan will include, but the best source to identify FY20 plans when they become available is OJP's Funding Resource Center at https://ojp.gov/funding/. Sometimes, in certain cases, OJJDP may provide additional funding in future years of particular programs, and those would then become continuation awards.
Great. Thank you, Steffi. And for convenience of our audience, went ahead and put that funding website in the chat pod for folks. So the next question that we have is the funding up to $230,000 each year for 3 years, or is it $230,000 over the 3 years?
It's going to be $230,000 over the 3 years, unless for some reason OJJDP decides to provide additional funding through continuation awards.
Fantastic, right? As a follow-up, is there a match requirement for funding?
There's no match requirement for funding for this solicitation. Great,
thank you. This next question, Steffi, is a little bit about the age definement of this particular solicitation. How is youth defined for the purpose of this grant? Would it be 18 and under, or would it be 12 to 25?
For this particular grant, it's for youth under the age of 18.
Great, thank you. The next question that we have, how will I be notified if my agency is selected to receive an award?
So the point of contact and the authorizing representative will receive an email with a notification and instructions of next steps by September 30th, 2019.
Outstanding. And as a follow-up, how will I be notified if my agency is not selected to receive an award?
If an agency does not receive an award, they'll receive an email. The point of contact and the authorizing representative will be the two people again contacted to receive an email by October 30th, 2019.
Great. Well, that's all of the pre-submitted questions that we have here. I'll go ahead and allow you to have some time to look in our audience Q&A and see if the other questions that you'd like to address.
I'm seeing here that someone wrote, do the applicants need to include all goals listed in the application, or can they target a subset of the goals? I would list all of the goals, and then there's one overall goal that I had mentioned, and then you can target a subset of those goals and list your own objectives for your goals, for your subsetted goals in your application. I hope that answers your question. If not, my phone number is 202-598-0807. That's my work phone number, and anyone can call me afterwards to follow up on any questions that they still have. The next question I see here is it 1 3-day cross-site meeting, or is it up to 3 meetings? It's actually 3 separate meetings over the course of the 3 years. So there'll be 1 3-day meeting in year 1, a second 3-day meeting, cross-site meeting in year 2, and then a third 3-day meeting in year 3, and you can bring up to 3 people to each of those meetings. And we don't know where they'll be located yet, so you just have to kind of guesstimate how much like an airline ticket would be or a hotel room, that kind of thing. Okay, the next question is, can you reiterate what you said regarding the 2 certificates related to DHS and ICE that we will need to sign if we are awarded funding? I don't have the certificates in front of me, but I can, once you are, if you are a successful applicant and receive an award, then we will make sure that you have the certificates. You will need to get them signed after you've received your letter saying you receive an award, and as you accept the award. You have 45 days to accept the award, so within that 45 days you have to get those certificates signed. This question is, what model for suppression is most frequently used? I don't know that there is a specific model that's most frequently used, but I would contact the National Gang Center for that, and I would assume that it would depend on the kind of gang problem that you have in your community. I think suppression strategies would be different based on whether you're dealing with transnational gangs, intergenerational gangs, or crews, in a community. So I would contact the National Gang Center for more information on that, but I'm not sure that there's one specific strategy that fits all different types of gang problems. So this question is, if in your comprehensive gang assessment you find that kids 17 to 24 are the ones driving the violence in the community, can you serve youth up to age 24 with awarded funds? Unfortunately, for this particular grant, youth is considered under 18, kids that are under 18 years old. So it would have to target those youth. Another question that has come in is it a requirement to be a part of the Project Safe Neighborhoods program? If you're not already a part of Project Safe Neighborhoods, I would contact your U.S. Attorney's Office and make them aware of your comprehensive strategic approach that you are taking. So yes, it's not going to be looked at in terms of points on the application, but yes, you should be a part of your Project Safe Neighborhoods initiative. Another question, or the last question, is someone wrote, I noticed that some of the other OJJDP grants are requiring MOUs between involved agencies. Does this grant require an MOU in the application? Yes, please send in MOUs with agencies that you know you're going to be partnering with prior to getting the award. So as you write your application, if you already know you're going to be working with you know, school resource officers, you know, Boys and Girls Clubs of America, please do get an MOU if you already know they're going to be part of your program. Obviously, as you know, after you've applied and you create a universe of all the different programs you're going to include in your strategic comprehensive approach, then you may get more MOUs as time goes on, depending on what those agencies are going to be doing for your project. And right now, I think those are all the questions that we have. So I'd like to thank everybody for participating.
Yeah, and it looks like we have maybe a couple of more people typing in questions here, Steffi, regarding the project Safe Neighborhoods. I think someone may have mentioned that they didn't successfully contact them, but I can maybe message that individual person and try to see about getting them the resource for Project Safe Neighborhood. Just as a reminder to folks, also, please be sure to send your questions if you have them. And it looks like we did get one additional question here, Steffi.
Okay, so the additional question is, what is the total amount of funds and how many grants are planning to be awarded? So up to six grants will be awarded, and the total amount of funds, I'm just going backwards because I know that it's in here, and I didn't say it out loud, but it is in one of these slides. It's $1,380,000. That's the total amount to be awarded under this solicitation. Up to 6 awards. So hopefully this grant gang funding information is helpful. If you'd like more information regarding the Project Safe Neighborhoods initiative, please call me. I'll give you my number again, 202-598-0807. Are there any other questions, William?
Like we have just one, maybe or two additional people possibly typing additional questions, so I'll give them just a, okay, they asked if you could repeat your number there. And
sure.
If you want, Steffi, oh, go ahead.
Sure, I'll repeat it, and if you want to type it in, that would be great. It's
yeah, sure.
202-598-0807.
And I went ahead and I placed the number there for the individual into the chat pod there for them.
Great, thanks. And if anyone ends up having additional questions that they think of after the webinar closes, feel free to call me with any other questions.
And Steffi, it looks like there are no additional questions coming in right now.
Okay, great. Well, thank you so much, William.
Sure. Okay. Well, I'll go ahead and I'll
Thank
go ahead and wrap us up here. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Well, I'd like to just remind our audience to please be mindful that you can contact NTTAC through the information that's displayed on this slide. You can stay up to date on the latest information by signing up to NTTAC's TTA listserv. Also, don't forget to check us out on Facebook at OJJDP NTTA. You can also contact OJJDP via the Help Desk by following the contact information on this slide. Do you have a training and technical assistance need? If so, please submit a request for help via the OJJDP's TTA 360 platform through the link displayed on this slide. And as a reminder, the webinar recording will be archived on NTTAC's YouTube, where you can also view past webinars. For event transcript and supporting materials, please contact the OJJDP TTA Help Desk. And lastly, we would appreciate you if you take about 5 minutes to complete the feedback evaluation. Thank you again for joining us today. Have a great afternoon.
The host has left the meeting. So at this time,